After the only vice presidential debate last year, the National Review's Rich Lowry blogged the following timeless description of the Republican candidate. I'm sure I'm not the only male in America who, when Palin dropped her first wink, sat up a little straighter on the couch and said, "Hey, I think she just winked at me." And her smile, it was so sparkling, it was almost mesmerizing. It sent little starbursts through the screen and ricocheting around the living rooms of America. Dear National Review Forum, I never thought this could happen to me. In our #1 story, now she can burst stars all over the country for a couple of bucks a head. The Washington Speakers Bureau, a group that books appearances for high-profile types, has an online bio page for its new client, Sarah Palin, and it reads like something out of The Onion. Known for the meteoric rise that captured the hearts and minds of a global audience, Sarah Palin is a groundbreaker who speaks on her vision for energy independence, national security, fiscal responsibility, healthcare, and small government. It goes on and gets increasingly hilarious, but let's break down that first part. Known for the meteoric rise. Then there was the election, the ethics charges, the close, the dead turkeys, the quitting. In fact, here's the other side of the meteoric rise. As you saw live here on MSNBC with Taya Leone, Sarah Palin captured the hearts and minds of a global audience. Well, Rich Lowry's, his heart and his mind, not so much, maybe. Sarah Palin is a groundbreaker who speaks on her vision. Vision? Ahem!
You can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
This thing goes on, but in summary, you should know that even though she may leave early, Palin will come prepared. Remember, she does read everything. Just don't ask her to give a speech about the Supreme Court.
What other Supreme Court decisions do you disagree with?
Well, let's see.
Time now to call in the columnist of The Village Voice, author of La Dolce Musto, Michael Musto. Good evening, Michael.
Hello, Keith.
The Palin sales pitch from this Washington Speakers Bureau. How did they leave out Maverick? These people are not even trying.
I know. I guess that goes without saying, sort of like giant douche nozzle. And, I don't know, 4 eyes. What other label fits her? Forever 21?
Ooh. That last one is
that's
going to be trouble right there. Okay, sorry about that, all you 21-year-olds. If you were in charge of representing her, if something happened, then there's some, perhaps as compensation for what you just said, you have to do that as community service or something.
I'd rather go to hell.
Well, all right, but what would you pick as her biggest selling point? Oh, how am I asking this?
That people might confuse her with Tina Fey and think that's who they're going to see. In fact, I think Sarah should go along with that, get a fake Emmy Award, pretend to be Tina Fey, and as people crack up over everything she says, she could just say, well, it's supposed to be funny, wink, wink.
Is part of the excitement of potentially booking her to speak at your wedding or your bar mitzvah is the whole guessing game of whether she'll actually show up because she has not shown up at a number of events this year? I mean, it sort of turns your event into this instant surprise party.
You're thinking of Liza Minnelli.
Okay.
With Sarah Palin lately, you rattle the cash. She is there. She needs that money to pay extra daycare for her out-of-wedlock grandchild and to help special needs adults, special needs children. The problem with her actually is that she's starting to show up and talk. She should learn from Liza. Stay home and just practice her arm gestures.
We learned this week that her first big paid speech a week from today in Hong Kong will be closed to the press, and it's to Chinese communist investors. What could possibly be wrong with that?
I think they wanted to close it to the press, then they found out even in China the press doesn't care except for the Chinese Bureau of Mad Magazine. So it's basically just closed to the Chinese Bureau of Mad Magazine.
Some other political career shifts while we have you. Tom DeLay taking to the dance floor on Dancing with the Stars. He's been whining about being injured. He has a stress fracture. It turns out it's actually a pre-stress fracture. Pre-stress fracture would be a pre-existing condition. Is it not going to get him his insurance canceled?
Well, I think Obama's going to take care of that with his new health plan. I mean, believe it or not, part of the plan calls for, like, if former politicos go on a reality show and deal with pre-stress, it's covered. And don't say you lie, Keith. I'm truthing.
I'm sure you are. But were you ever an immigration lawyer? Also,
I'd rather do that than work for Sarah Palin.
Karl Rove, a guest appearance as a voice on Family Guy. And he has issued a statement in which he called the original script tasteless and the creator of the show mindless and that the show needed him.
That's why I love it.
But is it possible to have lived the last decade and not realize that Seth MacFarlane and Family Guy were far more successful than the Bush administration, and certainly were drawn much more realistically?
Well, Carl's favorite show is Bugs Bunny, so he's not that plugged into the Family Guy world, and he's really going to wet himself when he finds out that little Stewie is gay and the dog drinks martinis. But I think his other offer lately was to do a kind of Brokeback Texas two-step with delay on Dancing with the Stars, and he had a whole bunch of pre-stress over that.
Yeah, I was going to say pre-stress indeed. The one and only Michael Musto. Right, thanks as always, Michael.
Thank you.
And send your complaint letters to me. That's countdown for this, the 2,330th day since the previous president declared mission accomplished in Iraq. As Julia Child used to sign off, this is Keith Olbermann. Bon appetit. Save liver.